jacked up all the way off the ground. Now, time to take the wheels off. Pop the hubcaps and start off with a 22mm socket and snap on gun. You take off it, wait for the air compressor to build up, and we're ready to go. First step first, get the tires off. There is a couple things you have to remember to do before you jack it up. You have to loosen your lock lugs when it's on the ground. It's a lot easier. Just pop those babies loose, and the lug nuts you can a little bit. Makes it a lot easier to take off the wheel after you get it up in the air. These brakes are pretty rusty. They're in bad shape. Time to change them, that's for sure. So just want to let you know. The other thing is the jack stands. You got to remember to take those out of the rafters before you bring the car in, because they're really hard to get down once the car is in the garage. So, two things to remember. No big deal. Just another good thing to do once you get your wheels off. Spray PB Blaster on your brake bolts, on the carrier and the caliper bolts, just to let them loosen up. Also spray some PB Blaster inside the lugs, which would help and around this part here, so that in the little hole there, the jack hole, just to make it easy to break it loose. While you're taking the other side apart, you might as well wait, let it soak in a little bit. Same with the front wheels. They got a little bowl here. Spray that down good. That holds the caliper on when they're on assembly. You really don't need it, but it's there. Might as well put it back. Also the caliper and carrier bolts. Just spray the PB Blaster. I got it from the auto supply store. Just loosen it up. So it makes it easy to pop the rotors off once you get to that point. Also, Costco leaf bags work really good. Soak up the oil so you don't get it all over your garage floor. It's a good idea. Get 4 of those, because it will drip down on your floor. Not a big deal if you're in a shop, but in your garage, definitely want to do that. Just a reminder, no biggie. Just another step. One of those things, you can't really go any further once you get the tires off the wheels, is you have to get this T30 Torx bolt out, which is basically just for assembly when it goes down the line. But if you don't get that out, you really can't go no further. So you have to have this Allen, actually a Torx wrench. So T30 is the size you need, and you can pull that out, and you can put it back if you want. I'm not even sure if the new rotors have that hole, but they probably do. But you got to line it up if they do. But you got to have that part of the deal. Put this screwdriver in here just to keep it from turning before you take the rotors off. Now the next thing is the rotors. Don't forget the T30 wrench. 22mm socket to get the front tires off, and we need air gun. Gotta wait for the air compressor to build up so we can get those cages off. So here's all the brake parts ready to go. Brand new AC Delco certified parts. So it's some cleaner and oil. I'm going to do the oil change while I have it up in the air. So that's first step. Up in the air, jacked up safely, and ready to start taking the tires off. Step 1. Yeah, once you get the caliper bolts loose, just loosen them up a little bit with this bigger long ratchet or breaker bar. Get them loose. Then I always stick a screwdriver in here, get a hold of the rotor, pry this back and compress the piston. Make sure that you pull it all the way out. Then once you get the caliper off, pull the pads off, I always put a C-clamp on it. If you're doing all 4 wheels at the same time, you might shove the piston back out. So it's a good idea to pry that out, put a C-clamp on it, and bungee strap it up so it doesn't pull on the hose. Just another little gotcha. Okay, so once you get the caliper off, the pads are still there. Take a little piece of steel or plate or old caliper or old shoe and just put a C-clamp on it so it holds it in place, and compress it all the way in so the new pads will fit, because the old pads are definitely wore out and they're skinnier. So you put it like that, and then bungee strap it up out of the way. The other thing is, make sure you put a rag around your reservoir, your brake reservoir, if it's full, and because you're going to get back push on the brake fluid, and it'll blow out and drip all over the place and make a mess. So we wrap a rag around it, get the cap off. That way, if any excess oil comes out, brake fluid, you can catch it before it gets all over the floor. Just another little trick.
You let it just drip out, just all the way until it stops dripping.
Yep.
Can you take a picture of me?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So here's the brakes on this side are already all put back together, and we're just moving along to the next ones. So we gotta make sure we clean the caliper holder, the bracket. We gotta clean this area right in here, get all that rust out of there, get a wire brush, because both sides, this is really just caked with rust. You gotta grease it up when you put the new shoe back on, so that it's nice and clean and it doesn't cause any rust which would gap up the liner back towards and lock up the brakes so they don't float correctly.